I mean, the times that I reach out to you, like asking you questions about any topic, you answer.
I don't know. Like, there's been a few people clearly that I've like let back in or like kind of just still keep around. Like
At my age, though, I don't have time like to be like begging for friendships or even for love or whatever, right?
I just think that if you don't know what someone's going through, you just need to not comment. I think that people need to just mind their business almost.
Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Con Palabras Bien. Muchísimas gracias por regresar. De hecho, se pueden dar cuenta que no es el setup regular y de hecho no estoy ni en El Paso, estoy ahorita en Chandler, Arizona, con mi buena amiga que de hecho ya les había comentado también yo en el podcast de Miriam, que Miriam tiene su podcast también que es Becoming Miriam, entonces estamos haciendo un poquito de proyectos, un poquito de contenido para ella también y pues para aprovechar también para el podcast de Con Palabras Bien. Ahora, de antemano, este va a ser como un poquito de Spanglish, ¿ok? Porque Miriam ya me dijo que su español no es muy bueno, aunque ahorita estaba cantando canciones de Peso Pluma, entonces ahí no sé si le creo. Pero Miriam, how are you?
Sí hablo español. El español fue mi primer idioma, solo que pues por no practicar o pues por... Ahora ya no está tan bien y me pongo nerviosa y entonces ya casi no hablo en español mucho. Entonces, pues
Pero mira,
ya dice el warning. Que
estás tratando,
Spanglish, sí.
tratando, que es lo que cuenta. Y de hecho, sí se siente un poquito raro porque si ya vieron el video que salió el lunes, les di como que un behind the scenes de donde estamos grabando y todo eso. Entonces es un poquito diferente. También con el audio, pues me estaba asegurando que no se escuchara mucho eco. Y de hecho, pues primera vez que yo grabo así con esto, siempre he estado acostumbrados al otro. Pero Miriam, muchísimas gracias por querer ser invitada en este día que prácticamente fue para tu podcast. Y me encantó el contenido que hicimos. Pero vamos a empezar, de hecho, por esos episodios y cómo finalmente decidimos pues trabajar juntos, que de hecho fue, salió de la nada. De hecho, ¿por qué hablamos la primera vez de eso? What was it? Like, because I know we were like in a call. You had some questions about, I don't even remember.
No, ya, ni sé, nomás te hablé, creo que porque yo quiero empezar a hacer camisetas y diferentes cosas. Entonces te hablé por algo totalmente diferente y ya no sé no sé cómo empezamos a hablar del podcast.
Sí, creo que fue de eso de las camisas y luego ya después ahí, bueno, vamos a trabajar juntos, déjame voy allá a Arizona y empezar a grabar todo. Si tú me sigues, de hecho, desde el principio del el podcast, tuvimos un episodio, pero ya hace años, y fue de hecho por Zoom, y fue, de hecho, me di cuenta que eran dos partes y nada más publiqué una.
Wow.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Why'd you do me like that?
I'm so sorry. I don't know, because I think the first part though was like mental health. So I think that was like the most important for me. And it was like, okay, let me post this one. And then, well, you know me, I post in advance. So I already had the other one scheduled for next week. So I completely forgot about the second part. But now I guess this is second part / third part, I guess.
Yep.
Nice. So Miriam, right now that we record your episodes, something that caught my attention, and not like ruining or saying what your episode is going to be about, but well, maybe I'm going to say what it's about, but it's imposter syndrome, right? So something that caught my attention is when I actually told you, like, hey, let's work together. Let me go over there to Phoenix and let me do the equipment. Let's see how much will a studio cost and everything. And you immediately were like, nah, dude, like, no. Why are you going to waste your time? And I was like, what do you mean waste your time? So what's going on? What happened, or what was your thought process when I actually said, like, hey, let's do this?
Yeah. I don't know. I know how hard you work, I think is really what it was. Is like, I know how much goes into this. Like I've talked to, we've been friends for years, and like I love talking to you about like all the behind the scenes stuff, the tech stuff. So like I know how much goes into what you produce and like your podcast and how you have gotten it to where it is now. And I think truly that I just felt like I wasn't like worthy of all that effort and all that energy and like just all that hard work that it takes behind the scenes that people really don't realize. And yeah, I think that that's what it was. I look back and I see where my podcast has gotten to before like us starting this new chapter. And it's not a good place, and it's not something that I am proud of, and it's not something that like I think is worth the investment. And so when you like were willing to put in so much energy and put in so much effort and actually invest in me and in my podcast and like help me out, like I was like, no, like don't, like you have, there's other, put your energy somewhere else that's more deserving.
So here's the interesting thing though, because our podcasts in a way are like I think we talk on the same topics, but what I like though, it's like your point of view, and then me as a man, like my point of view, because we both discuss like mental health situations and depression, anxiety, and all that stuff. But sometimes when I'm listening to your episodes, I'm like, oh, okay, I see it this way now, and it's really amazing to me that we might be going through the same situation, but you reacted a little bit different than I would do it, and same way like the other way around, right? I reacted a little bit different of what you do or you reaction to that. So did that happen to you when you listen to some of my episodes?
Yes, and there's a lot of reasons that I admire you and your podcast and like everything you do, but I'm a really big mental health nerd advocate. Like I'm going to school for mental health. Like I have been through the journey myself for many years now. Like mental health is really important to me. And I've, lost loved ones, trigger warning. I've lost loved ones to suicide, and it's just something that's just so important and so like big in my life. And the loved ones that I lost to suicide were both males. And I know, the statistics, I know just how prevalent mental health also impacts men. And I think it's not talked about enough. And, I could, talk about mental health about for myself and also try in my episodes to be like, men also go through this, like men should also reach out, but hearing it come from a man and a Hispanic man also, like you're breaking double stigma to like talk about it being a man and talk about it being a Hispanic man. Like that's two stigmas that you're breaking by talking about what you talk about. And yes, I definitely have listened to episodes where I'm like, dude, we're the same, we're both going through it. Like, so yes, I definitely feel it. And I really want to thank you. And I really admire you putting yourself out there. It's not easy for anybody to do, but again, like you're going against even more like stigmas or even more odds, I guess. So just thank you for using your voice and for sharing your journey. I know it's not easy, and I really appreciate you. And, it's not to get too emotional, but it's just something that's really important because, if maybe, the people that I lost, like if they would have seen other men talk about it, like maybe they would have been a little bit more comfortable or more inclined to speak up about what they were going through. So it means a lot to me personally, and just thank you.
First of all, thank you so much. I already mentioned this, and I texted you before and even mentioned one of our first episodes, but the reason that I started the podcast is pretty much because of you, right? And I do follow you all the way back from SoundCloud. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but yeah, I remember you started uploading the episodes right there. And actually, when I used to live here in Phoenix, I was trying to work with you even on the photography thing. By the way, in this studio, we have like an infinity wall. It's super badass. And I texted the guy like, hey, can we use this or what's up? And he was like, dude, it's going to be like $90 or $100 more. And then I mentioned that to Miriam, and Miriam was so upset.
No, like, we're right. It's right there, guys. It's literally right there. I could see, all I got to do is stand up and just do a 180. And then the cat, boom, done.
Yeah.
$100.
Apparently, I was not aware because, again, if you watch the behind the scenes this past Monday, there's different like sets, okay, and photography sets too and everything. So I guess this guy, instead of renting the whole warehouse, it's like by section. So, I mean, business-wise, it's a smart move.
Yeah.
But again, I was just like, you're right. Like, we are here, like, just literally 2-3 steps, and that's it.
I just want to complain about it one more time because, this is why I'm not a business owner. It is a smart move. Get your money. I respect it. Get your bag. But, like, you're not going to, like, we're recording a podcast, so obviously we're recording audio. It's not like can he rent these separate rooms at the same time? Because like then we would just be talking over each other.
Yeah,
be a mess.
And you know what? The funny thing now that you mentioned is when I was trying to book the spot, some of the times were already like blocked out because someone was using this. So I think that's what's happening. Like, I think he rents like this space, and then no one can go ahead and rent. So back to your point, like I don't see why we cannot use that. But yeah, but anyways, I mean the place is really nice, dude. So really cool. Thank you. Shout out to you. I'm gonna sure to tag you so you can see this. But
then he's gonna ban us because I complained about him. I'm sorry, sir. I was just saying my feels. It's all jokes, sir.
Oh, jokes.
I respect it. Get your bag.
But I was saying, Miriam, that again, thanks to your podcast and for your, I guess, courage of actually talking about mental health situations, it in a way inspired me, right? Like, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk. And I actually remember that back then, I was not this open with my mental health situation, not even with my family. I was not going to therapy or anything like that. So listen to your, and I'm so sorry, how old are you?
I'm 29.
29. Okay, so yeah, so I'm 31. So I mean, it's not much of a difference. But why did you do that face? Wow. Damn.
No, I felt better because you said you were 31. Because then I was like, oh, we're the same. Like,
yeah, whatever.
Listen, the 30s are the new 20s. So I'm about to join you in the 20s. Like we're good.
No, yeah, I guess. No, but I was saying that. It created like that. Okay, you know what? Now I'm comfortable. Let me go ahead and see that. And as I'm pretty sure this was the case. And I think you mentioned this in one of your episodes that the podcast was like a way for you to, one, like for yourself, like get everything out of your system. And then you want to record like your progress, right? So let's go ahead and take it back. Like, what was that conversation? I don't know, with your therapist or with yourself? Like, you know what, dude? I'm going to start the podcast just for that purpose.
Honestly, I don't think that I don't remember. I have a terrible memory, but I don't remember if I was actively in therapy at the time or like, I really don't remember. But the way the podcast came about was I got the idea to start a podcast through, I was doing like a little internship with the radio show, and being around like the radio and like seeing, I've always loved this just creative side of things, photography, videography, like modeling, like podcasting, radio, like the whole thing, like it's just all really exciting to me. And so being around a radio show who also had a podcast, and just it's really like you surround yourself with these different people and you just see like the potential and you just get excited. And like I was only like doing like a very small like little internship role. I had no experience prior in radio, and I didn't, and spoiler alert, it didn't like create a future for me, but like I didn't have any experience or knowledge on like how to get into it a little bit more seriously for like a career wise. But being around them so much, talking to them is, at some point the idea came up. Either I brought it up and I was like, oh, I think it'd be cool to like start my own podcast. And they were just really encouraging. Like, obviously that's what they do for a living, and like they're all about the content stuff. And so of course they were really encouraging, and that's kind of where the idea like sparked from. And at first I didn't want it to be a like mental, like, not that I didn't want it to be a mental health podcast, but I didn't, like, that wasn't my plan. Like I wanted to start a little podcast, just to see it, like just to kind of, for me to kind of start getting experience and practice just talking, because again, at that time, like I'm really like around the radio. I was like, I want to like get into radio. Like if I can start practicing on my own through my podcast, like maybe it can grow into something, and like I could use that as like an into radio. Again, spoiler alert, that's not what happened. But I had the idea. I wanted to start the podcast, but then I just kept putting it off and off and off, and I just kept putting it off because I was not in a good place mentally. And I kept telling myself that I needed to wait until I was in a better place before I started the podcast. But I was just waiting. Like, I was just waiting for way too long. And then it was truly like, it was probably just an impulsive decision, honestly. Like, because again, like it's been ruminating in my mind. Like, I want to do it. Like, I'm going to do it at some point. I just need to start feeling better. And then the impulsive part was just like one night, like I just was having a really hard time. And I was like, you know what, like, forget it. Like, I'll just talk, like, just get it out. And that's how that first episode came about. And I did upload it on SoundCloud. I don't think it's still on SoundCloud. I think I transferred it over, so it might still be out there. If anyone's listened to it, I don't encourage anyone to go back and listen to it, because it was, a few years ago, and it was probably not that, happy. I'm sure it wasn't happy. But point is, that's how it happened. Like, just impulsively one night, I was like, I just need to, like, get these, like, it was just, I had so much buildup of all these dark feelings, and I just needed to get it out. Podcasting is very, therapeutic, similar to like journaling. You're writing down your thoughts. I'm just talking my thoughts instead. And yeah, so I don't remember the question. But that's how it started. Is that what you asked?
Yes, that's what I asked. But and actually, I want to go back though to that first episode, because it was intense. I don't know if because you already said that you have bad memory, but it was super intense. And I remember when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, sure, like this is, I mean, the feelings are there. And that's what I like about any podcast when they are real and they are like, they're not trying to fake it, you know what I mean? And I felt with that episode, especially that one, was like, oh, sure, like, damn, this is something for real. Because, I mean, I'm sure you have listened to podcasts that they're like laughing or faking it, like everything is right. And we try with our podcast, we try to actually show like the raw emotions that we have. So my second question to you, because also you did mention this, that sometimes you see other podcasts like posting and recording and stuff like that, and it got to a point that you were like kind of annoying with that process that they had. Were you comparing that to your podcast? Because again, and again, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, because this happened to me too. I was comparing myself a lot to other podcasters that I follow, and I mean, this is gonna sound so stupid, but in a way, sometimes I was comparing myself to Joe Rogan. So it was like, damn it, bro, like he has a career, he's the most listened podcast in the world, and I was comparing myself to him. But anyways, like I used to do that. So you went through the same process?
Yes. Yeah, no, I really struggle a lot with like comparing myself, and not just in podcasting, but like I'll keep it to podcasting for this, because I'll just talk forever. I talk a lot. But yeah, I've always kind of struggled with it, but especially like when my podcast kind of fell apart, like the past years, before this new partnership that we're doing, my podcast just like, I felt like my episodes just got worse and worse, because so much time would pass between my episodes, and then I would try to do an episode, but then I'm like super rusty and like out of practice. So then I'm like stuttering, and like, it's just bad. And like, it was really difficult to see myself, even though the podcast started in a dark place, and like, yes, it started for myself and my own therapeutic purposes. Like, it was my journal, my place to document where I'm at, and hopefully to see the path and like to see my journey to feeling better. Even though that was the root, and that's where the podcast started. As I got more into it, it got to a point where like I was getting really good feedback, and like, no, I wasn't doing the podcast for the feedback, obviously, but it felt really good to know that I was impacting people positively, and it felt really good to know that I was making a difference to people. People would reach out and like just tell me like, thank you so much. Like, I really needed to hear that. Like, I have been feeling really similarly. Like, I was just really connecting with people is really what it was. And then I hit a point where life got really, really dark and really bad. And like, I just completely ran away. Like, I logged out of all my socials. I stopped responding to all text messages. Like, I stopped posting on the podcast. Like, I just completely like shut the door to my life and like just left. And trying to come back, and I'm still struggling with it a lot, where I feel like I want to pick up the like podcast momentum where I left off, which is impossible, right? Like I can't just go right back there because I want to pick up with the podcast momentum, but I don't want to pick up everything that comes with it. I still have a hard time talking to people that that I haven't talked to in all these years because it's like I feel almost like I owe it to them to explain like all the bad things that happened to me and like why I left, which like I don't owe anybody an explanation. I'm having a really hard time finding the balance of like, the way I explain it to myself is like, I closed the door, right, to my life, and now I'm trying to like sneak back in, and I don't want anybody to see me sneaking in, and so I'm struggling to find that balance, and all this to kind of bring it back to your point, me picking up the podcast and like not being where I was, and like pretty much starting from even, below zero is what it feels like, and then, seeing your production and seeing like your podcast. And just how, and I'm telling you, I've always admired like how you what you do. Like it's phenomenal. Your work is phenomenal. Seeing that, it was like, because I don't want this to come off wrong either. I hope, but like again, being just transparent, like knowing, because it's always meant a lot to me that when you tell me like I started my podcast because like you kind of pushed me to it, like that means the world to me. And I'm really like I'm thankful that at some point I was able to kind of impact people this way. And you're not the only person that has told me that. Like I have 2 other people that have also told me like, oh, like I started, they started their podcast, the same thing, just after me because I kind of encouraged them to do that and to use that as an outlet. So seeing these podcasts around me that started because of me, or like, I helped push them to start, and then seeing how that momentum has continued and like seeing where you're at now. And then my bad thoughts, like I sit back and I'm like, I started before these 3 people, and like my podcast is a disaster now. And like I see them and I'm so happy. Like, again, I don't want this to come off wrong. Like I'm super happy for you and for my other, my other 2 podcast people. Like I'm super, super happy for like where you guys have gotten to. Like I do want the best. Like I don't want it to come off as like I'm like not happy for you guys. Like I am, but again, it's just like turns into like me the comparing. It's like we could have been like on this journey together. Like I could be like having my production should like in my mind I'm telling myself like I should be there too, and instead I'm like down here like underground. And so I do struggle a lot with the comparison. And it sucks and it is annoying. And again, like I feel like a bad person because I'm like, I shouldn't be comparing myself to my friends. Like I want them to be like well off. I get sad looking back and seeing that like my life just got like harder and harder since I started the podcast. And like all of those hard experiences, they've just all just thrown me off. And like, again, now I'm like kind of starting from, it feels like underground. It's starting from like negative, trying to like get the podcast back to a better place. Cause like right now I don't even, again, before our collaboration, like I don't even like tell people that I do the podcast anymore. Like I don't post about it. I don't say like, hey, I have a new episode. I don't send the link out. Like I don't want people to listen to it because it's not good. Again, this was all before, but yeah. So yeah.
You know what? And well, now that we're talking about, right, I think it's not too much that we are comparing ourselves in the way of, oh, I want you to do bad and whatever you're doing, right? It's, well, at least for me, the feeling is that exactly like you mentioned, like we started together and now I'm behind. And good for you guys that you guys are doing great. For example, this happens a lot when it comes to my photography sometimes. It's like, okay, so I teach you how to use your camera and now you're getting like weddings every weekend. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And it gets, to your point, it gets super frustrating. But I also think though that sometimes we actually put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we don't need that. You know what I mean? We don't need that kind of pressure because, again, going through depression and especially anxiety, that you put more pressure, it's like, damn, like you are putting yourself like in a little box, and that's a scary part. But before we talk about that though, I want to touch on something that you mentioned, that people were reaching out to you and saying like, hey, thank you, like your episode helped me, or you know what, because of you I started the podcast. But I want you to like try to tell me like one of those moments where someone actually reached out and was like, hey, you know what, this episode actually helped me a lot because I'm going through the same thing. What was that feeling? Because I'll share my story. When the first time, like face to face, someone was like, hey dude, like thanks to your episode this happened. So what was your experience with that?
I've had, my memory is really bad. I'm so sorry. But most of mine, I will say, have been like through messages, and so like on like my Instagram, I would get messages. Sometimes from like friends. Like for example, I had one who, it was a coworker of mine, and hers was really fun because like I didn't know that she had started listening to my podcast, and then one day she texted me and she's like, I finally finished all your episodes. Like she went back from the beginning. She's like, I didn't want to tell you until I was fully caught up, but I finally finished. And so, and like, I talk a lot. So like at some point in my journey, I was doing like 2 episodes a week. Like there was a lot, like there was a lot of episodes. And the fact that she like went and like listened to all of them and then came to like, you know, have a, you know, comprehensive understanding, you know, like she knew the whole podcast at that point. And so it was really cool because she texted me. She's like, I wanted to wait until I like listened to all of them. It just means a lot. Like it just puts me in my feels, because it's like, and again, maybe it's also because I struggle so much with like those insecurities and the feelings of like worthiness. Like, dude, you dedicated so many hours to listening to me and like to listen to how I feel and like what's going on in my mind. Like I don't dedicate time to like other people that much. Like, you know, like it's the fact that clearly I had enough to say that people would want to continue to listen and continue to hear what I was talking about. So it means a lot, and it's an emotional thing when somebody can open up to you too. And I take it very seriously now. I mean, not that I before didn't, but like when you lose loved ones to suicide, you of course spiral and you get into this place of like, did I not see the signs? Like, why didn't I pay more attention? You know, like you get into those spots. And so after, you know, those experiences, if somebody tells you like that they're struggling, you take it serious. And like, I take it very serious. So when people did reach out, and some of these were before, like before some of the losses that I had, but you have to be a safe space for somebody to want to open up to you. And I'm really thankful. And that's one of my, like, I struggle a lot with like feeling proud of myself. That's one of like my proudest moments, that I was able to give a safe space to other people where they could feel comfortable coming to me. So yeah, clearly it was an emotional thing to get those messages.
And I was about to tell you, Miriam, we are gonna get into the raw part of the episode, and my mom is gonna kill me again because I don't have no Kleenex or paper tissues or anything. I'm so sorry, Mom. But I want to ask you something like straightforward. Like, why is it super hard for you like to actually not only get like compliments, but actually one, believing in yourself, and number two, because I told you this before, like, hey dude, like I believe in you. I know that you have potential when it comes to your podcast. I like the way you express yourself, how you talk. Because I mean, you already mentioned like 3 or 4 times, like, oh, they were not good, but I'm telling you right now, like, they're good episodes, they're good topics and stuff like that. But
he's lying.
I'm not lying. Sorry. But I just want to, because again, I've been in your shoes, and I know that feeling too. And again, I don't remember if I talked about this before though, but I just want them to actually listen to your point of view, because I'm sure we're not the only ones going through that. You know what I mean? I'm sure, and like you said, if we can help like at least one, that's more than enough for me for now. But why is it so hard for you to actually get to that point?
Obviously, like, I know that these thoughts started somewhere, right? Like I talk about it in one of my episodes. Like, they were planted at some point, and I don't place blame on anybody else. Like, it's my journey. It's my, like, I'm the one who allowed. Even going back to like my childhood, like I have memories, and like when I talk about them, they feel really silly. Like they shouldn't have impacted me as much as they did. But like I I had grew up with pretty strict parents, and I've always like the oldest. I'm a first generation like Mexican. Like very strict immigrant Hispanic parents, right? And I had just extremely high expectations set on me. Like I needed to have perfect grades, and I needed to be just the best. And like if I ever played sports, like if I wasn't good, like I would just my dad would just tear me apart. Like he was one of those dads like yelling on the sidelines, like you like just not the nicest. Like so growing up, I've always lived that life where I had to be perfect, and I never like was.
But you never was like according to you, or like people will tell you like, oh, Miriam, like you're not doing this right.
Yeah, like I remember one time I got a B. I had, all A's and one B, and I got in trouble. And, I'm a kid, right? But my neighbor, who was like my best friend at the time, she had all straight A's, and like my dad jokingly was like, "Oh, she's a better daughter because she had straight A's and I had one B." Like, sorry. So it was a lot of little things like that. Like one time, this all makes my dad sound real bad, but like one time, my dad took me with him to like I don't know where, and his friend had a daughter who was around my age, and they bet money on who would win in a foot race, and I lost. So my dad lost money betting on, but like, since when am I a track star? Like, why are you putting money on me to win in a race?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of little things like that where I was just constantly getting in trouble for not being good enough. Or like I mentioned, like the sports, if I played sports, and I played sports, and like it got to the point where like I didn't want my dad to go because if I would mess one thing up, he would just be yelling at me about how worthless I was, and like he was not the nicest. And again, it's all like silly little things. Like I shouldn't have let it get to me, but like as a kid, if that's like constantly like all you get, like I had those like I had to be perfect, and I could never reach it. Like I was always getting in trouble for like the littlest things. And again, like these are just like some of like the highlights of the the most impactful moments. Like I wasn't like I don't want people to like, I don't know, like I'm trying to defend my dad while also acknowledging that like he clearly negatively impacted me in certain ways.
How's your relationship with him now?
It's fine, but we're not close. Like I don't ever text him or call him. If I see him, like when I go visit my mom, like if he's there, like I'll give him a hug, and I'm like, oh hey, like, and that's really it. Like it's cool. Like there's no like I don't blame him. I don't hold any resentment towards him. Like I love him, but again, like we're not like close. Like I don't call him to be like, oh, like what are you doing, or like, oh, guess what happened. Like I don't have that kind of relationship with him. But yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then as I kind of, started getting older, and I started having my own different relationships, whether it be friendships, like school, work, whatever. I feel like I already had that like embedded in me. So I constantly was like, no, like I messed up. Like if I had goals, like at work, like if I didn't hit my goals, subconsciously, because I wasn't like actively like, oh, it's just like when my dad yelled at me. Like I didn't think that stuff, but subconsciously I was like, damn it, like I messed up, like I'm so sorry. And like I was constantly apologizing to like my managers, and they're like, no, like you're fine. And I'm like, just like the anxiety of like not being good enough and not hitting my goals or whatever, like just it would just be so much. And so I constantly continued to reinforce it for myself. And then I've also gotten into like romantic relationships where there's been, I've been cheated on, I've been lied to, and like those things continue to reinforce, because it's like, am I not good enough like for you to like be on, like why did you, if you're gonna cheat on me, is because clearly I'm like missing something, like clearly I'm not enough. And so again, those experiences reinforce them. And then my like latest romantic relationship was very, very impactful. in a bad way. Like that one really changed me, and really like it just again was just more examples and more reinforcements of like me not being enough. And here I am almost 30, and I have a whole life of just not feeling enough. Even when people tell me I'm fine, like I don't believe it, and I don't know why. Like I've had moments again, like, you know, I've done therapy, and I've done like outpatient programs where like I've done like group therapy and like psychoeducational stuff. So like I know that the correct response is like if I start to feel like I'm not good enough, I have to think like, did they tell me I wasn't good enough? Like, where's the factual information that proves that I'm not good enough? Like, there is none. There's nothing to support my belief that I'm not good enough. Therefore, I have to like let that belief pass. Like, it's not true. It's just a negative thought. Like, move on. And I just then again, like I'll have moments where like I'm on the right track and I do these things and I learn these skills and I start to practice them, and then something else, like just another bomb drops and like my life falls apart. And then now that's currently where I'm at, where it's like my life fell apart. And so I don't have the like mental capacity to be able to utilize the skills that I learned in the past, because they're not like, I don't think about them when I feel like I'm not good enough. I don't have the capacity to think like, oh, I'm having a negative thought. Like, what should I do? It consumes me, and I just don't. So right now I'm trying to like work on, or I'm in a place where I'm just like, at least I'm recognizing it, and I'm hopefully that's the first step of like trying to actually start working to overcome them. Anyways, that was a long answer. My bad.
No, you're good. But well, that was a good answer to be honest with you. But now another question that I'm curious, right? Because you mentioned you want to be a safe place to your friends, family, or whoever like reach out, right? But again, because I always talk about my personal experiences, and if I talk about a topic, it's because I already went through that topic, right? And I think in a way it gives me like a right to talk about it, I guess. But I used to like be that counselor to my friends, that I don't know, therapist that they will go to and they will like tell me their problems, right? But I was not okay though. You know what I mean? And sometimes I was like, dude, I'm giving you advice and I'm not even doing that advice, right? So were you going through the same thing? Like after they will talk to you, you'll be like, oh shoot, like I'm going through the same shit and I'm not even taking that advice.
I think that I have I have a multifaceted answer. I will be like as honest and transparent. I think that right now I'm a terrible friend. Like I think that's also one of the reasons that I kind of isolated and that I really ran away from like I stopped responding, because I'm still a terrible friend. Like I recognize it is like it's just where I'm at right now. Like I'm just not a good friend.
But you are though. You're a good friend. And so here's the thing. Remember, like energies attracts energy. So well, that's how I see it, right? If we tell ourselves like, hey, I'm this, eventually you're gonna start believing it. You know what I mean? And
I do believe it. Yeah. I told myself enough times that I do believe it.
But that's the thing though. Like I don't think you're a bad friend though. Again, because well, I'm going away from the question though. I'm so sorry. But I mean, the times that I reach out to you, like asking you questions about any topic, you answer, and yeah, I mean, not right away, but I understand though that we're busy, that we have stuff to do. But when you answer back, I know that you actually took the time to actually listen to my message or read my message and then answer back. So I mean, all the time that we gone through something like that, you're always there, and I don't understand though, like why do you keep telling that to yourself?
I think it's because, I don't know. I appreciate you saying those things. Like, that's really nice. I think you're trying to make me feel, no, I'm sorry. I need to relax. See, this is what happens. I become like a really dark, like just self-deprecating. Like I can't, it's the whole thing. Like I can't just accept that you said like, that I'm a good friend. Like I have to be like, you're just being nice. Like I just have to brush it off, and it's annoying. Like I can't stand that I do this. I think that I just like, you also don't, I don't know. I guess, I mean, I do try, but like, I don't know. I really get stuck in this place because like I mentioned, like since I lost Steven to suicide was, since I lost him, that whole story was also really difficult because he had tried to reach out to me a few days before he committed, and I kind of brushed him off. And so since then, that was really like the turning point where I said, like, I'm always going to be there for people. But then when like my life really got difficult the last few years, I just like ghosted everyone, and like I stopped responding to texts, and like I think it's just because I don't know, like there's been a few people clearly that I've like let back in or like kind of just still keep around. Like you're one of them. My best friend Orlando, like I talk to him like every day. There's a few other people that have kind of been able to like find their way back in, and truthfully and like being completely honest, I think that it's just the people that haven't given up on me because, I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't know. But like Orlando, for example, I know that like I didn't talk to him for a long time, and like he had to keep showing up and he had to keep like pestering me until I would. And there was a lot of other people that didn't bother to try again. And maybe that's why I think that like I'm not a good friend, because like I don't reach out to them anymore. A lot of the people that I have now, and it sucks and it's sad, and I don't like that this is how I've gotten, but like a lot of the people that I still have now are the people that tried again and again and again, because I just like I wasn't receptive, I wasn't responding, and they just kept trying. And at some point, like they tried enough times that I got there, but like it feels really shitty because I've been on the other side of it where it's like you're the only friend that's reaching out. And so I hate that they had to be, I hate that they had to go through that. I hate that they had to keep trying and they were the only ones. Like it was a one-sided relationship for a long time. But yeah, so I think those are the reasons that I feel like I'm kind of a bad friend, because like the people that I have now have been putting in more effort than I have, because I think all my energy, and not to make excuses, but I think all my energy has just been like focused on just trying to like survive what I've been going through. So yeah, I don't know.
I understand in a way how you're feeling, right? And because I do have friendships too that they disappear and I have to try, right? But I also think though that in a way, that's a good thing, because I think the people that it's around you now, I think that's the people that is worth having around. You know what I mean? And just as an example, like we know each other like for years now, but this is actually the first time that we are face to face. But we kept in touch. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is that I know you because of Edwin, that is your cousin, and I used to work with him, but I never like saw you like on family parties that they had and they invited me or anything like that. But again, I don't know if it was the podcast. I don't know if it was like what I was going through that I related to you, right? And I try to see it in a positive way, right? Like people that are around us now, it's because they're worth having around. You know what I mean? And I'm exactly like you. I don't have that many friends. One, because now at my age, you call me old right now, but
we're not old.
But at my age, though, I don't have time like to be like begging for friendships or even for love or whatever, right? But I really appreciate the people that they are there, right, next to me and every single thing that I need, projects or ideas or just like to listen, right? And I'm pretty sure you appreciate that a lot. But I think just to start closing the episode, but what do you think that as a society, we need to change a little bit more when it comes to that stigma of mental health? Because again, I've been on that end that, you know what? It's everything on your mind, dude. Like you're just creating stories. Like, no, dude, like I'm going through this shit and you don't get it because you're not going through, you know what I mean? But what do you think that we can go ahead and do better when it comes to that?
I just think that if you don't know what someone's going through, you just need to not comment. I think that people need to just mind their business almost. And of course, that's like me being a little bit like sassy and dramatic. I think the reality of it is people need to be more understanding and just recognize that like there's a lot that could be going on. Like it's a true statement when people say that people battle in silence. Like we never know what someone's going through, and you also never know how the simplest, silliest thing could trigger something and like cause a reaction that to the surface. Like for example, I was watching it was like Cops, you know, like the show Cops, or it wasn't Cops, it was a different show, but I can't remember the name of it. But there was this girl, and she like went to the ATM, took out $20 because she wanted to go get tacos. She forgot the money in the ATM. And then, so she like left and then realized like, oh my God, I forgot the money in the ATM. She tried to call like the store that the ATM was at and was trying to like see if the money was still there. And of course it wasn't, you know? And so she was just she was just hysterically crying, like losing it, called the cops because, you know, she lost her money to the tacos. And the cops show up and the cop is just like, well, what do you, like, he was super kind of rude and it was like, it's at that point it's abandoned property. Like you left the money, like it's gone. And he's like, how much do tacos even cost? Like, why do you know, like you still have, because she's like, now I only have 15. I don't know. But he was just not understanding. And then later she mentioned, she's like, why just like broke up with my boyfriend? It's like, okay, that now things make sense. Like she's not freaking out crying because she lost the money to the tacos and now she can't get tacos. She's obviously in crisis because she's going through something else that has heightened her emotions. And so people out there just see something that seems ridiculous on the surface, like this girl's an idiot, like she, you know, like, and they don't take the time to like think like there's probably something else going on, you know, like there's probably something else. And so that's really, I think the biggest thing is like people just need to be understanding and know that you don't know everything. Like we don't know what people are going through. We don't know what their lives are going through. So just if you can't spread kindness, then just don't say anything. Like, you don't have to comment. I didn't ask if you thought that, you know, I really had ADHD or if it was just in my head. Like, I didn't ask you. So just, you know, you don't have to, like, go spreading your comment. And now I'm just getting angry, you know. But truly, I think it's just being understanding and just recognizing that people could be going through things that we don't know. And either just spread kindness and just try to, you know, give that out, or just keep it to yourself. Nice.
I think that was a perfect answer. Miriam, I just want to say thank you so much for actually being the guest. So sorry that I didn't post part 2, so I guess this is part 2. But again, thank you so much, Miriam. Proud of what we're doing, proud of what you're doing. So stay tuned, guys, for Becoming Miriam. Where can they find your podcast?
So the podcast, Becoming Miriam Podcast, is available wherever you listen to your podcast. Spotify, what's the Apple one? Apple Podcast. The Google Podcast, it's wherever. Just look it up. I also do have a YouTube, and I post the podcast on the YouTube channel, so you could also listen to it there. And I'm also on Instagram, again, at Becoming Miriam Podcast, if you guys want to follow. Pero muchas gracias. Ya se me olvidó que tu podcast es en español y perdón, pero no, muchas gracias por tenerme y por todo lo que me estás ayudando a hacer, y no, de veras, lo que vamos a hacer es magic.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much, Miriam. Y a ustedes, muchísimas gracias. Si te quedaste al final, recuerda en darle like, compartirlo con tus amistades, tus familiares. Créanme que eso ayuda muchísimo al podcast y a mi canal. Pero muchísimas gracias. Nos vemos la siguiente semana.
Bye.
No sé quién te dejó, pero amor, créelo. Tienen un par de vidas, ese sería yo. Te tiene que doler, pero ya déjalo. Que él no es como todos y nadie es como yo. Si tú estás low, te pongo high, tremendo flow. Ready por el coro.